Welcome to Pseudoscience 101, the only channel where an F-item with a 479 tri-type, or a wannabe menace to society, mocks a personality system because they do not know how to properly communicate their hyperfixation. This is the Enneagram, and whenever I show it to people, they always ask me two questions. Who the fuck are you, and what are you doing in my house? To answer those, firstly, I am literally fucking God, and secondly, if it's your house, how do you explain land leeches? Anyways, the question which I'd want them to ask is, what do those lines mean? So I'm gonna tell you that. The lines on the Enneagram are called growth stress lines. To understand which lines go where, connect all attachment types in a triangle. One connects with the other frustration types, but they don't connect with each other, and A connects with other rejection types, and they also don't connect to each other. For the four types which only have one connection, 2, 4, 5, and 7, connect them to the type which shares their center of insecurity. Did you get that? Unless you're a nerd who drew it out, or a fucking lifeless crayon chewer who memorized how to draw a fucking pseudoscientific shit stain, which looks like it was made by fucking Dungeons and Dragons idea of what a cult looks like, you had no fucking idea what the fuck I just said. That's why I'm going to use the asshole chart from my first Enneagram video to talk about it. To understand which lines go where, again, the attachment types are still connected to each other and the others go around in a circle. So what are growth stress lines? Basically, if someone is thrown outside of their comfort zone for an extended period of time, positive and or negative stress will cause that person to momentarily act like a different type. Depending on whether the person becomes easier to handle or more attractive, this state is called integration or disintegration. To map it out, attachment types disintegrate by going up, with 6 wrapping around to 3, and all other types disintegrate clockwise. To integrate, types go in the opposite direction, down for attachment types and counterclockwise for the others. This will be touched on later. The concept of growth stress lines begs the question, what the fuck do I mean by acting like a different type? Types represent fucked up coping mechanisms to life-consuming bullshit, and most of these lines cross over into different kinds of bullshit. How the fuck do you act like one? And I really like that question. To put it simply, the pressure of coping in one way for so long crashes in on itself and changes. So take 5, coping with a lack of security by trying to know everything about whatever part of the unknown is threatening their security, disintegrating into 7, coping with the lack of security by trying to know everything about a different part of the unknown. Say that a 5 knows that a meteor is going to fall in their house. As a human, they'd want to panic, but they'll instead force themselves to sit on their computer to find out how dangerous it is, where it'll hit, and how much damages they could repair if they sell the meteorite. And then, when the meteor inevitably destroys every part of their house except for the computer, they'll scream for 3 minutes and proceed to play hit game Beastie Ball by Klee Entertainment for 30 hours. So how do the other 7 lines which go across centers of insecurity work? Take 8, coping with a lack of autonomy by screaming like a child and demanding someone with a belt to give them back their plushies, integrating into 2, coping with a lack of love by whining like another child and promising to share their toys with you if you played with them. Don't fucking ask me about my childhood. 8 is part of the anger triad, so the core of the development will be about autonomy and conflict, but since 2 is in the shame triad, it will have hints of the shame triad's problem, feeling like a piece of shit nobody likes. So, the 8 would start to think of the conflicts they go into as gross and stupid and decide to stop. Note how I didn't say anything about it being resulting in punishment or unsustainable, because 8 is integrating into 2, not any of the other anger triad types. Now, about the other 7 lines I haven't covered, use your fucking imagination! This video's taking too long. And to wrap up this section, there's also a debate going on in the Enneagram community, or not depending on how fucking outdated my sources are, about if you can disintegrate in the opposite direction. I personally think you can, because I see growth stress lines more as a general vibe than a hard rule, like how I view the triads. Another thing in the Enneagram I reduce to a general vibe are wings, because they also go outside of centers of insecurity. Each type has 2 wings, the type numerically above them and the type numerically below them. Except for 9 and 1, they are flapping each other. That's so fucking stupid. Why did I put that in the script? I'll be using the standard depiction of the Enneagram to talk about this because in it, all types are next to both of their wings. Attachment types are the easiest to find the wings for because their wings are within their own centers of insecurity, Basically, what do they do if they have to touch the thing they don't want to touch? If some asshat pushes a 9 to their limit by eating their ice cream, a 9-wing 8 would punch the fucker in the face, which they deserve, whereas a 9-wing 1 would try to systematically rig the ice cream market so they can't buy it anymore. If everyone tells a 3 they are a piece of shit nobody likes, a 3-wing 2 might try faking an apology to get people to like them, or if they're an actually good person, they'll give a genuine apology and actually follow through with it. And a 3-wing 4 will talk about how what they did was really cool, actually. 6s, are you invested in the system? If so, good. Because I'm not telling you about your wings. You might ask why, but I won't answer. Why not try to deal with the unknown? Deal with the unknown. Deal with the unknown. Deal with the unknown. Deal with the unknown. Deal with the fucking unknown! For non-attachment types, it's a bit trickier because instead of staring at coping mechanisms, you need to see which center of insecurity flavors it more. So 8-wing 7s and 4-wing 5s will incorporate a bit of the unknown into how they handle conflict or being a piece of shit nobody likes. You'll see the trend that frustration types have their wings come from how they interact with the shit they idealize, while rejection types have their wings come from what they do when they get what they want. Starting with the rejection types, after learning enough about the unknown to feel safe around it, a 5-wing 6 expresses their newfound security by beating up / running away from the previously scary thing because it was only scary in the past. A 5-wing 4 would instead keep it around and masturbate to it as a trophy of how really smart and cool they are. After getting what they want, an 8-wing 9 would stop fighting, satisfied with their cool new rights. Then they get beaten up and thrown in prison because by not making progress, they're letting their enemies do it. 8-wing 7s would instead fight for more, cooler, newer rights. They also get beaten up and thrown in prison because by constantly threatening the status quo, they provoke all the larger structures which benefit from it. When people recognize a 2-wing 3's efforts to stop being a weird as fuck asshole, the 2 will think they're at the right level of niceness and shit, and they don't need to make themselves even nicer. However, a 2-wing 1 is going to continue because they think they need to get into more bullshit to prove that they still deserve love. Onto the frustration types, whose wings come from how they interact with the shit they idealize. When the parts of the unknown a 7-wing 6 gets into become too scary, they'll engage with it less because scary things bad. However, a 7-wing 8 would double down and engage with it more because it's supposed to be escapism and they want to force it to be that way. When a 1-wing 9 sucks up to a person / institution, they'll do it a bit more quietly and subtly to avoid unnecessary conflict, while a 1-wing 2 goes, "Would you still destroy my enemies if I was a worm?" after doing the dishes for that person / institution once. 4-wing 3s are about as ethical and intelligent as every politician I dislike, and so are 4-wing 5s. But they differ in how 4-wing 3s who heard this description are parading around thinking they're really cool and edgy after being called something they can only pretend to be, whereas 4-wing 5s had to go back 10 seconds to understand the depth of what I was saying because they are very smart. Of course, you could do both wings. I can both understand why I am a piece of shit nobody likes and go around saying I am a piece of shit nobody likes. The difference between 4-wing 3 and 4-wing 5 and every other wing is which one you do first. That's my interpretation of lines and wings in the Enneagram. I thought that since I view both of them generally, I could just combine them into one 8 to 9 minute long video, and I was right. My doubts while writing this script have shown to be false, so I learned the lesson to never listen to my doubts ever again. Anyways, I love the way you love the way I make shit on YouTube.com, so thanks to everyone in the comments of my previous videos, especially the people who write hate comments because they are really funny. Speaking of the comments, I'll answer any questions you have in there. Also, I forgot what profane statement from earlier in the video I wanted to use to close it off, so you're not getting one. Goodbye.